There's a little distant chase. Just too much help.
I open the study session at 6 o'clock on June 9th, 2025. And we will move right on to study session business. And number 1 on the agenda is AWC conference voting delegates. I call on City Administrator Jason Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. And just for the record, I want to note that all the council members are present tonight.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was my job, but they're.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
So coming up, we have the Association of Washington Cities Conference. It's held in Kennewick this year from June 24th to 27th. During the conference, AWC hosts their annual business meeting, and at that business meeting, delegates from our city can cast votes for who should be on the AWC board, as well as typically there's some bylaw changes or some other minuses that are happening there. Voting delegates may be elected officials or staff members from member entities. So in your council rules, it talks about who can be a voting delegate and how that process works. And I'm just going to read it directly from you. It's Council Rule 21.2. And it says, when the mayor and or council members register to attend an official conference requiring voting delegates, such as the National League of Cities or Association of Washington Cities, the council shall designate the voting delegates and alternate voting delegates during a public meeting by a majority vote. When possible, said selection of voting delegates shall be done on a rotating basis for the purpose of allowing all council members the opportunity to be an official voting delegate. So coming up in Kennewick, Mayor Hayden, Deputy Mayor Moman, Councilmember Elfers, Councilmember Ranke, and myself are all registered to attend the conference and the business meeting. Council members may also choose to attend the business meeting virtually and be a voting delegate. So the purpose of tonight's discussion is to see who is interested in being a voting delegate and the alternate voting delegate. And once we have those names, staff will prepare a motion for your next council meeting to officially appoint those people who are wanting to be the voting delegates as such for the AWC conference.
All right. Do we have volunteers before we appoint?
I will voluntarily decline to be a delegate and suggest that whoever else wants to do it. Thank you.
I didn't know we could vote that way.
I didn't know you could.
I didn't know we
vote
could vote
either.
that way.
Yeah.
Well, you can. I just wasn't smart enough to think of it.
Okay, so who else is going? Who is? Andy, are you gonna vote? Andy's
Being
gonna.
voluntold to, I will be the voting delegate if nobody else wants to.
All righty.
I'll be the alternate voter.
As a reminder, council, we're looking for 3 voting delegates and
Right.
1 alternate. There are 4 of you attending and myself, making 5.
Simple math.
So each of you need a job.
I would change my vote to be an alternate, Mayor.
Okay, so we have 1 voter and 2 alternates so far.
Okay, I'll change it to be a voter. 2 voters.
All right, we need. No,
Okay.
I'm a mayor, I don't vote.
No, Mayor, you can hold a voting seat if you'd like.
Come on, council members.
Can I nominate Jason Wilson, City Administrator, to be a voting delegate? And can I confirm, being a delegate, what types of things you're voting on, and or do our delegates need to be more in line with each other to make these votes instead of all going different directions, or is it kind of just like make your own choice with these votes? Just because I'm seeing a lot of differentiation up here tonight.
It's great responsibility to be a voting delegate at the AWC conference. You're voting on who is going to be representing the AWC board. So to be on the AWC board, you're typically an elected from a city in the state of Washington. Typically, these races are not contested. Sometimes you have one other person running. And then the other things that are voted on, and I have not seen the agenda for this conference's meeting, but it's typically bylaws related. It's nothing that is that heavy. So do you have to be in lockstep? No, because you're one of 4 people or 3 people representing the city of Sumner. You think if there's 281 cities here in the state of Washington, if everybody was to have their 3 delegates, there's a lot of people voting.
I'll just go on record to say I'll be very serious there about it, just so you know.
So you're on the list. Matt, should we put you on the list?
Oh, I'm not attending, so I nominated Jason, but yeah, I was not putting myself up. I won't be attending virtually either, so.
All right. Pat,
I won't be attending either.
neither Pat? Okay.
I don't have what I need.
I can put myself down.
Okay. So just to confirm that I understand, Mayor Hayden, Deputy Mayor Bowman, and Councilmember Elfers are all primary. Did I get that right, or did,
They're voters.
They're delegates and I'm good in problems.
and Councilmember Ranky's the alternate?
Okay,
Okay,
If one of you don't show up. there's-
so I will prepare the agenda bill for next week. The motion will be to appoint you 3 as voting delegates and Councilmember Ranky as the alternate.
What happened to you?
Yeah, that was.
You know, I am confident in your abilities.
all right. There will be paybacks.
There will.
Okay,
Okay, we got that settled, right?
yep.
We're good. Okay, we are moving on to the City of Sumner's Pollution Prevention Assistant Program. And I call up Environmental Technician Joey Urquhart. And I guess Michael Kosa's coming up too.
It's coming up for solidarity.
There you go. Oh, and Robbie, wow, we got the whole,
Well, thank you, Mayor Hayden. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bowman, and thank you, the City Council, for the opportunity to present and give you guys an overview on the city's Pollution Prevention Assistance Program. It's a program that's the city's been in partnership with since 2013 with the Department of Ecology, and at the next council session, you'll be presented with the next biennium agreement to continue the partnership. So a little bit about myself, since I've never been to one of these sessions before and I haven't met the majority of the folks up here today. So I've been with the city of Sumner since 2003. I started in the Parks Department, actually, after completing 2 terms with the Washington Conservation Corps, building trails in the Pierce County area, as well as the backcountry wilderness for the Forest Service. So mostly working in Pierce County, though, with the city of Tacoma and the county. And before that, I graduated from the Evergreen State College with a degree in environmental studies in 2019. And I've been in this current job position since October of 2023. So what is the Pollution Prevention Assistance Program? It's a voluntary compliance program that helps small businesses understand stormwater and dangerous waste regulations. So PPA specialists offer free hands-on technical assistance specifically to businesses that qualify as small quantity generators. PPA specialists help small businesses stay on top of regulatory changes, protect employee health, and stop pollution at its source. And since 2013, when the city was a partner, became an official partner with the Department of Ecology, we've conducted over 600 businesses, all free, voluntary, non-compliance visits with businesses in our community. These include auto shops, auto body shops, nail salons, veterinary clinics, pet care centers, and our local schools. So what's the problem? Why do we have a program like this? Well, pollution from businesses and business operations affects all of the water that runs off our parking lots into our streams, our creeks, our rivers, our oceans, and potentially into our drinking water sources. What the program does to try to prevent this is provide best management practices to businesses to protect stormwater and explain the dangerous waste regulations that apply to their business. So common sources of pollution that enters our catch basins can come from leaks and spills of vehicles or business activities, such as washing those vehicles outside, or oftentimes unmaintained stormwater infrastructure can contribute to these sources of pollution as well. But really, the crux of the program is identifying those sources of chemicals and hazardous materials that are not being properly stored and disposed of. So the pamphlet that I gave you that says we help businesses for free on the dais is the pamphlet that I can give out to any business in town. This really, it doesn't only have to be those auto body shops or those nail salons. It can be any business, whether it's a actuary's office or a funeral home. Anyone can apply for this program. Not apply for it, but I can find them and consult them and see if they want to participate or not. And this is kind of an example of what I would say to a business. I would introduce myself and say, I'm here with the city and I'd like to chat about stormwater and waste management at your business. And some common responses I get oftentimes are, well, what is stormwater? What are we talking about here? Well, that's where I kind of go and explain how the water that runs off your parking lot, off your roof, down your gutters into the ditch is not treated water. So anything that lands on those surfaces or anything that comes into contact with that asphalt can end up in our creeks and our rivers and our oceans. How long is this visit going to take? That's an often, a very common thing I get. And I say, well, I have a 2-hour version, but I have a 20-minute version too. We could talk, I could present to you for 2 hours as well about the intricacies of what I can get into with the business, but our average businesses here, most people don't have time for that. And really, you don't need all that much time to take simple actions to prevent pollution from entering those streams, creeks, and oceans. There's no dangerous waste here. I don't have anything dangerous. I run an accounting office. Well, if you produce batteries or light bulbs, or you have to change out your printer toner ink, those can all be dangerous waste. Those need to not be ending up in our dumpster that we store outside. Those need to be properly recycled. And that's the kind of information that I would respond if a business said, there's nothing dangerous here. It's like, well, actually, I mean, you might not be running the auto shop with the used oil and the antifreeze, but you still qualify for the benefits of this program. And that education is really what comes first for me. So I'm never there to fine or get people in trouble or make them feel guilty about their current business practices. I just want to make them aware and provide them with those educational tools to prevent the pollution from occurring at its source. And this is where the partnership with the Department of Ecology really comes into play, because the Department of Ecology is the subject matter experts. They produce the focus sheets that are sent to industries large and small throughout the state. And really, I act as a funnel to get that stuff to our mom and pop shops here in town, as well as some of our larger industry in the mixed industrial center. But providing the education to identify the waste, some printer toner ink cartridges might not be dangerous waste. Maybe we can put those in the garbage. Some of them might not be. And so giving the business that tool is the first step and the most effective in the long run. And some of those tools for prevention that I talked about, well, we give these out for free. And that's really the biggest benefit of a business for participating in this program, allowing me to spend that 20 minutes with them, is by completing a checklist with them for 20 minutes about their business practices and their hazardous waste storage. They automatically qualify for a spill kit or a yellow drum funnel that can fit on top of a 55-gallon drum of used oil and safely contain that oil so it doesn't spill all over the ground. Or the one on the right there is like a locking lid funnel that has a lid that shuts on top, so it meets dangerous waste container Washington State Administrative Code requirements. Here's an example of me giving a yellow container to a business that was really having a hard time with illegal dumping. These are from oil changes at their business that have been left behind and they didn't know what to do with. And it was right next to the ditch line. And me showing up that day and spending that initial 20 minutes with him, we found this kind of forgotten about storage of used oil that could have turned into a really expensive and nasty mess to clean up. But providing that yellow spill pallet to him. He was able to neatly organize those containers of used oil, and he ended up saran wrapping them with like a pallet wrap and then storing that undercover. So we removed the waste from outside, we put those containers upright, and we prevented it from spilling out for the future. Another reason that this program really just applies to everybody is everybody's got a dumpster, and the easiest thing you can do with that dumpster is keep the lid closed. We want to keep rainwater out of that dumpster, and that's just such a simple, doesn't even take the 20-minute visit that I can do with our businesses. It can be a 5-minute conversation. It's like, hey, I was driving by and I noticed that your dumpster lid was open and your solid waste was blowing out all over the parking lot. If we can just close that dumpster lid, train your employees to remember to close that dumpster lid at the end of each shift, you're looking at a real lot less issues going forward, you know, keeping your property upkept and keeping that pollution out of the waterways. What I really touch on with businesses as well, and what saves everybody, including the city, money in the long run, is preventing spills and spill awareness. So the most frequent spill that we have here that I've responded to and worked with businesses to prevent is motor fluids, used oil, and antifreeze. And these are just two examples of the right things being done. They look like big disasters, but actually with the proper preventive tools, such as those spill pads on the right. And the fire department actually helped out with that one on the right as well. The one on the left was the one where I provided them a spill kit. The one on the right was the one where the fire department helped out with the garbage truck. But those are just simple preventative measures that every business can take and prepare for to limit their liability. And that being said, a spill plan is something that I give out at each of those 20-minute visits, whether that business has bulk waste liquid that they store or whether that business just has a parking lot where something like that garbage truck could happen by accident. And at the end of the day, that can come down to the business's responsibility to clean up. And these spills are not cheap when we're talking about thousands and thousands of gallons of wastewater to clean up the spill. So having a proper spill plan that I give out to the businesses, I've helped several fill this out. This is an example of the backside of it, where they have photos where the business can walk through with their employees. There's also a link to a video that our partners at King County Dangerous Waste put together. So there's audio visual resources as well. And then the map, the gridded portion, is where they can draw out a simple map of their business, where they store waste, where waste can enter the stormwater system, and the location of the spill kit. So looking ahead to the next biennium, 2025-2027, the city's been awarded $195,000 from the Department of Ecology to continue this program. What that pays for is my position and the ability to continue seeking training, seeking equipment to give out to the businesses, and also being able to award businesses what are called small change vouchers. So that's a $500 reimbursement if a business has to make retrofits to a current storage system, such as I had a fellow in town construct a small awning over his used oil containers that were stored outside, and he was able to get the $500 reimbursement back to him from the city to make those retrofits. And by making those retrofits, he then came into compliance essentially. But we did that all through voluntary, just building a relationship with him. I hope to complete 130 business visits in the next biennium as well, which we've actually surpassed in the last year and a half. So that'll be a piece of cake for me, I hope. And I want to do significant outreach for the transportation and warehousing sector in town. Even if these businesses don't make anything or store a lot of oil, they do have a significant amount of truck traffic, and their employees and their staff need to be aware of the proper procedures and how to respond to big spills from those large diesel tanks on those semi trucks. And also the multifamily apartments and rental agencies, you know, leasing and lending offices are businesses themselves, and thus they apply for the assistance through the PPA program. And by doing outreach to this industry sector as we continue to build more affordable housing and more housing options here in Sumner as well. We also have a significant ability to reach the general public on how to handle dangerous waste in their home or how to make safer choices in disposing certain wastes. Maybe we shouldn't put the grease down the drain, or maybe we shouldn't put the batteries in the garbage. And so by working with their property management and their rental agencies, it's an opportunity to also get that message to the residents of Sumner. So that's all I had for you today. If I'm happy to answer any questions if there are some.
Any questions, Barbara?
So, what are some of the other things you do? I mean, if you're just visiting 130 businesses over 2 years,
Yeah.
what are some of the other uses of your time and expertise?
Yeah, so the PPA program is really the crux that kind of holds the whole stormwater program together. So in addition to that, we also have the stormwater maintenance agreements which have been issued to developers since I want to say the 90s. Yeah, so they go back a ways, and we have over 300 sites where in town that require inspections of their storm ponds and require inspections of their catch basins, as well as any advanced or proprietary treatment structures that they might have, which, you know, could be complex underground chambers that store and filter stormwater before discharge to the river. So I work with property owners in town, to maintain those structures and make sure that they're getting properly inspected. And that's really the best segue for me to introduce the PPA program to people, because I can oftentimes go to a site and maybe there's several businesses on one parcel. Each of those businesses could be applicable to the PPA program, but I'm there also to inspect the whole parcel to make sure it meets city code.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working with the businesses on a voluntary manner, but I do work with the property owners to ensure that everybody stays up to date with what's in our code.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Hi, thanks. That was a great presentation, Joey. I don't know if this question's for you, or if it's for perhaps one of you two, but last fall we had a young gal come in and start talking to us about a program that the state had pretty much pushed to the city. It was more involving the industrial area and the safety. How does this and the runoff? So how do these two integrate? Because we've got that one program. Is this a subset of that, or is there a definite split, or is it together?
I'll take that.
Thanks.
Yeah, and it is, I would say, a program that works hand in hand. Technically, that is our sewer pretreatment program. That is kind of exclusively sewer.
Mhm.
So we're not sanitary sewer things that are going down toilets.
Mhm.
But that program does have a hazardous waste component as well. So there's a nice little synergy between both of those. The other thing is, every time you tell somebody, well, you can't put that down the sanitary sewer, they go out and dump it down the storm drain.
Right.
So Joey and Andrea end up working together oftentimes on, people that are having difficulties on their site managing their wastes, because you don't want them to just dump it down the other drain. So there are two different programs. That one is much more based on protecting our wastewater treatment plant, and which is a part of our plant permit. This is more akin to our stormwater. We have a separate stormwater permit called our MS4 permit, and requirements there. But this is really a kind of an add-on program that is sponsored by the Department of Ecology. It's great to get funding for it, that we can then support our businesses through the funding. And this is our 10th year working in the program, 12th.
More, since 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
So I've been in this program for quite a while. It continues to grow, and Ecology continues to support helping us support our businesses.
Thank you. I'm just glad to see the synergy. So they're both equally important. So
Yeah.
thanks.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you, Joey. Great presentation, and you articulated it very well. Felt like I know the program quite well after that. I'm kind of curious about, I know Councilmember Botetto was asking about kind of your time and things like that. And I was initially thinking when you were describing this, it sounds like a very active form of engagement where you're engaging the businesses, you're going on site, you're having conversations with business owners and employees and things like that. So I would think that can be, to get any bang for your buck, essentially, that can be a very, taxing amount of effort to go into that. I'm wondering if there's any passive form of engagement that we do, whether that's electronically, digitally, or other ways to like put a resource out there and, try to let people know it's available on their own time when they're looking for things, instead of just relying on you or other staff to be kind of the only point of contact for that. Is there anything like that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. That's a great question. We do maintain a website. I will say that the website needs some sprucing up, but I have been directing more folks to that website. And I oftentimes leverage the relationship with the Department of Ecology to direct people to them as well. So because ecology really holds the knowledge and the resources and the specificity when it comes to some of these industrial processes, like there is an expert at the Department of Ecology that can help a machine aerospace shop better than I can at times.
Sure.
So oftentimes what I will do is make sure that they are aware that the city is here to help them through a journey that might no longer involve the city. If I identified an issue or a complex industrial process that maybe we weren't aware of, or maybe skirted through somebody set up a side business on the same business license. And I still want to be there to help them and make sure that they have those tools to prevent their waste from getting out. But there are times where I can refer it to the Department of Ecology if there was something that kind of was outside my expertise. I will say that more passive forms of communication I've been really trying to engage with. So I've been emailing folks a lot more rather than cold calling or knocking on doors. I've been trying to schedule a lot more things before heading out and just hoping somebody was open as well. Trying to coincide a stormwater visit with maybe they have time today for a PPA chat as well.
Sure.
So that is something that I'm exploring and actively engaging more of.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have that top of mind, just because there's probably nothing better than actually talking to you about it in a
Yeah.
20-minute conversation or a 2-hour one, as you suggested, but also knowing that on their own time, like you said, businesses, owners can be busy. If they have a way
Yes.
to look at this information, then follow up with you. Or, do you have any sense of like how responsive Ecology is? So if something does elevate to them and their expertise, do you find business owners are getting what they need at that level?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of the time. And I know I have a great relationship with a lot of folks at the Department of Ecology, so I'm able to leverage that as well if I'm not seeing enough traction, or if I'm worried that if a business is gonna slip through the cracks. Or if like, hey, they're really asking for assistance, will you guys please respond? Yeah.
Great.
Thank you for the question. Mike.
Yeah, good to hear. Thank you.
Mhm.
Greg, do you have anything? Anybody down here? Great job, Joey.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
As a reminder, you'll be seeing a grant agreement come through in the next few weeks, the council meetings. Resolutions.
Yeah. I think it's IRF.
Then interlocal, so yeah, it'll be a resolution.
I think it's next to.
Okay,
And I'd be remiss, but Robbie actually started in this position, right, Robbie?
Yep, back in
Years ago.
2014 that was my first position at the city. So
see,
back in
you were a good teacher. Thank you,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Actually, yeah, it's not 100%.
All right, number 3, council rules amendment. And that looks like we're gonna have Andrea and Jason and maybe Michelle. Special guests.
Yeah, I'm joined tonight by Michelle Converse, our city clerk, because she is predominantly in charge of drafting and maintaining and then archiving all of the meeting minutes for the city council meetings. And the proposed rule changes tonight, while some of them are grammatical and other ones are to help with verbiage so that it makes more sense. The two that I'm really here to present and talk about tonight pertain to the meeting minutes. So please feel free to interrupt, ask questions. If there are other edits that I'm not highlighting tonight, I'm happy to talk through them. I just thought the two most substantive that you would care about are the two that I'm going to highlight. So the first relates to written submittals from members of the public. And this is under Rule 7.1. The edit that we are proposing is that written comments and materials that are submitted to the city clerk will be dispersed to the city council. You will all get copies of those, and members of the public will still have an opportunity at every regular council meeting to speak to the city council. They can either read the written comments that they prepared, or they can read and speak on other topics. But those written materials will not get attached to the meeting minutes. That's the first rule change. So I'm going to back up and just high level talk about council meetings are a business meeting of the city council. They're not a meeting for the public. And Robert's Rules goes into a lot of detail about why that is. It also goes into a lot of detail about why city councils and boards and governing bodies should take what are called action minutes. And action minutes should reflect who was present at the meeting, who presented at the meeting, who made a main motion, who seconded that motion, and then what the final action of the governing body was. Did the vote pass? Did the vote fail? Did anyone abstain? Things like that. The minutes should not be a word for word regurgitation of what occurred during the meeting. That's why we have cameras all throughout this room. We live stream every meeting on YouTube. We record every meeting and post it to our website. You can watch it on PCTV. Anybody, there is no shortage of options to go back and watch a verbatim recording of a council meeting. The minutes are to reflect the action that occurred during the meeting. During COVID, it was really difficult to attend a council meeting. In fact, we were encouraging folks, because of the governor's orders, to attend remotely. And while we were encouraging remote attendance, we were encouraging people to communicate with their elected officials in writing. It was really to keep everyone safe. So we got into this trend of accepting written public comment more often than we ever had in the past. And at least in the very beginning, Michelle was reading those comments into the record because folks could not attend our council meetings. They were closed. And so that's where that practice came from. It is not a longstanding practice. It is fairly recent, and it was born through COVID. So the reasons for doing that are really no longer in existence. So the edits that are before you tonight, newly proposed languages in red ink. I've highlighted language that we are proposing to delete. The PDF made it really complicated to reflect the changes, so I apologize that it looks messy. So I talked about the first substantive edit that we are proposing tonight, and I want to be really, really clear. The city council will still receive a copy of anything that is submitted in writing, and any member of the public can email their city council members at any time. This is not an attempt to prohibit written dialogue between the public and the city council. It is just that we are not going to attach a copy of it to the meeting minutes, because the meeting minutes should reflect only the council's business that occurred. Promotional materials or irrelevant topics, frankly, shouldn't be attached to meeting minutes. When somebody goes back 20, 30, 40 years from now, is trying to piece together what happened during a meeting, some of the records may not help tell the story.
Also, if I can just interrupt, the items that are passed out at the dais, I'll make sure that you get a copy of those items, but they, once again, will not be attached to the minutes. A lot of times people do come up, have a last minute item that they would like to share. Those will still get, just like I said, distributed to you, to Jason, to Andrea, other directors that need to know, and those will be kept with. I have a file that I keep all of the information from the meeting. For example, I have the prompt sheet, I have the sign-in sheet. All of that information is kept, and the archivist from the state of Washington comes in, reviews that for its archival history value, and they will take that and they will put it away forever and ever.
So everything that's handed out at a meeting or emailed becomes a public record. We will still be archiving all of this. It will still be responsive to public records requests. It will just not be attached to the meeting minutes. There are a variety of other ways to get copies of any materials that are submitted. The next change that I wanted to highlight tonight is that we are making an edit to the requirement that members of the public introduce themselves with their full address. And this is during the public comment section only of the meeting. There are other reasons why it's really important to make a thorough record during a formal and legally required public hearing. But I'm talking right now only about the public comment section of a meeting. And you'll see that we changed it to full name and city of residence on the sign-in sheet. And that is, go ahead.
I'm so sorry to
No,
interrupt.
please.
There are several, as Andrea was saying, there are several cities that do require your full name and address. Point blank, that's it. Puyallup also require, or if you do not want to give your full address, they'll ask you to give your full name and the district in which you reside. So that is another thing for the record that we will be doing.
So I asked Michelle, she's part of a cohort of city clerks that meet regularly. And of course, we always can tap into our resources at our fellow neighboring cities. And so I was asking Michelle, what is the standard? What is the norm on these topics? And so nothing that is in the current version of our rules or the proposed changes is outside the norm. Nothing that Sumner is doing or requiring is unusual, but because we've heard some feedback from members of the public about their discomfort in sharing their address during the public comment section, this is a rule change that we are proposing. Any questions on either of those or any other red text in the proposed rules that you would like to discuss?
Any questions down there? Yeah. Let's go down here first. Go ahead, Matthew.
Thanks, Mayor Hayden. Thank you both. So just on the last point in terms of the name and the address, or name and the city of residence and not necessarily the address anymore. That bubbled up from citizens' concerns about sharing their full address, is that right?
I personally have received feedback on that rule change and some confusion between the difference in a public hearing versus public comment. So yes, this is a proposed edit that that came up through the course of discussions with members of the public. Now, I will say that everyone's address, if you're a resident of the city of Sumner, is already part of public record. The individuals that I spoke to about this particular topic have filed lengthy documents with the court, which are also public record, that have names and addresses galore. So it's not difficult to find, but I do understand that it is uncomfortable to go up to the podium and say. And so I think it's an appropriate rule change.
Sure, and is there any real business need to know a person's full address other than their city of residence? I mean,
Not during public comment. During a formal and legally required public hearing, there is a very important business reason to have members of the record be fully identified.
okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. On the attachments to the meeting minutes. So just to make sure that I understand and that, anybody listening or watching understands. So, as far as I can tell, the only real change that is being made is that attachments that are sent prior to a meeting, written attachments will not be included in the meeting minutes, but that would not stop somebody from sharing those written comments here at the meeting or on Zoom or any other format with a council member, anything like that. So the only change is that attachment is not being included in the meeting minutes.
That's right.
Okay. And others, Michelle, it sounds like you're kind of on top of what other cities are doing. That's kind of the standard or the norm? Are there examples of other cities that they attach everything?
Not that I'm aware of. I did just a look around where we live, Puyallup, Bonnie Lake, Buckley. Not that I noticed in their meetings, and unfortunately, everyone's been busy, so I hadn't had a chance to have everybody get back to me. But
Sure. Okay, and Andrew, you made this point earlier. I think my last question is, this was kind of an accommodation during COVID and the pandemic to be more inclusive of comments and understanding that there was extenuating circumstances. We wanted to be, we were reading those comments at the time, Michelle was. And so prior to 2020 or whatever month or year that would have been, we were not attaching meeting minutes at that time.
That's
Or written comments to meeting minutes, okay. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else down here?
I just got a clarifying question, I guess. So if somebody comes to the podium, talks, and they have some papers, they hand them to you. And you take those papers, you make copies for all of us, but it doesn't go with the record? Is that what I'm?
That's correct. Usually when somebody hands me something, we always ask that they have enough copies for everybody already. So we'll ask for 8 copies and I will take one for the record, so that'll be a total of 9. That will get distributed to you guys. If they don't have enough copies, I will make sure that everybody gets a copy of it, as well as Jason and Andrea and any department directors that are in the need to know.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that clarification. Thank you.
Are you good?
Yeah. Okay, I do. Go ahead. All right, so I'm gonna follow up with what Councilmember Ranky just said. Because based on what I've heard here, there is a video that everybody can see, and you can go back and see that. And you do take that copy and it goes to, there's somebody from the state that comes and it goes in the archives, correct?
What happens, yes, Deputy Mayor, that is correct. So what happens, that is part of the record. So that's why I asked for an extra copy for myself. So that piece of paper, along with public hearing comment or public hearing sign-ins, council member, public comment sign-ins. That's really hard to say. I apologize.
Say it really fast.
All the stuff all goes into a folder for that particular meeting.
Right.
We keep that for a period of years, depending on what the state archivist says. And then we'll have the archivist come in to evaluate that for their archival value. They will either take that or they will say, we really are not interested in it, and we'll dispose as per the destruction code.
Okay, thanks. So to me, it's basically the same. I mean, it becomes part of a public record in the state. Then the other thing, for clarity, so on 2.1, the agenda, and it's highlighted in a couple of places. So it's 2.1 and then 7.1. Basically says any timely written comments received will be disseminated to the city council for review, which we were just, that was just explained to us, but will not be attached to the meeting minutes. That was just explained to us where they go. Or read aloud during the meeting. But it's really, they won't be read aloud by the city, because what I'm hearing is if I'm out there and I want to make public comment, I can take those and I can go stand at that podium and I can read them. So then it's on the video anyway.
As long
But
as
it's
you're
just
within your 3 minutes.
someone is not gonna read it aloud by the city, so maybe we just put those words in there so people don't think we're taking away freedom of speech. I would just add that, by the city in both those places, and
Great feedback.
I think that would clear up any issues that anybody might have.
So that's a great edit. The reading aloud during the meeting, as I explained a little earlier, was to accommodate the fact that people couldn't make it themselves to the meeting. So we would all sit here around a phone in the
Right.
early days of COVID and we would read those. Now there's no need for that. If folks can attend virtually or in person and read their comments or state their comments on their own.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, Barbara.
So if I were to make a public records request of a meeting, would I get those written comments? You know?
Yes.
Yeah, so everything would be included, you know, whatever they had submitted.
To the best of our knowledge, yes, or to the best of our ability, yes, everything would be, if it is
So-
responsive, it would be included in that public records request.
Okay, so then it shouldn't be a problem for anybody that, you know, they've submitted it, they think, well, you guys aren't even acknowledging, you know, this, so it sounds like it's all covered, so that's a good thing. Thank you.
The handouts, yes,
Yeah.
the handouts are, yes.
All right, anybody
The
else? down here?
comment section of any meeting is for the public, or I'm sorry, for the council members to hear from the public.
Right,
And so the same rationale behind disseminating whatever we receive in writing is so that you all can consider and review what you are receiving from your constituents. It is a lot less about the public records piece of it, though we will keep it, retain it. It will be a public records that is responsive and will provide.
All right, Andy, do you have anything?
Sorry,
Oh,
do you have any questions?
Yeah.
I'm so there.
I can just want to clarify one more thing. I mean, it's not really a clarification, but it's just that, just so that everyone understands, it's just not going to be in the minutes. That's it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So this will be on next week's council meeting for consideration on consent.
With that edit. Thank you.
Okay, so city administrators report,
Nothing tonight, ma'am.
nothing tonight. Agenda setting for council meeting agenda. Anybody have any issues next time? No? Anybody have any calendar?
Be gone the 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
Yeah.
For 2 weeks?
Sure. For one meeting.
Okay,
The
One meeting.
23rd.
Okay. You'll be gone on the 23rd. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any?
Pierce County Regional Council will cancel this one.
First, Pierce County Regional canceled. Okay. All right. So we are going to adjourn this meeting into executive session at 6:46 for two purposes, for pending or threatened litigation per RCW 42.30.110 II and for labor negotiations per RCW 42.30.140, estimated at 30 minutes. And the study session will be adjourned immediately after. So at 6:46.